Previously on B.D.A. Law. 30 we have Lucky Roo, 29 King, 28 Katakuri, 27 Luffy, 26 Marco, 25 Shiryu, 24 Sabo, 23 Suru, 22 Green Bull, 21 Ben Beckman, 20 Fujitora, 19 Oden, 18 Kizaru, 17 Rayleigh, 16 Mihawk. So before we continue, I heard you guys loud and clear. A lot of the comments disagreed with what I said, which was expected. So I think over the next year, I may release a video on each character just talking about why and how I power scale them, because I think condensing it into 30 seconds doesn't do it much justice, but anything more than that is honestly too long. So we'll find a way to explain it better. But without further ado, let's continue. One may be interchangeable, and that's the person we have next in Ryuma. And Ryuma is slightly above Mihawk because of not only portrayal, but his title, the Sword God. His feats include cutting dragons down with no effort, really. The legend that surrounds Wano was because of him, in which he was protecting Wano with other samurai, but he was the person solely responsible, seemingly, for keeping people out of Wano when apparently Wano had endless treasures and no one was able to get past Ryuma. Nobody. So off of that, you have to give Ryuma his credit. He was also an owner of the Black Blade. Mihawk and Ryuma, they're interchangeable, right? Like if you put Mihawk over Ryuma, I'm not mad at that, but you have to give respect to the Sword God. This may be a bit low based on how Aokiji has fared in the series, but I think this is appropriate. This is the all-time list, meaning all the characters in the series ever, we're ranking them. So Aokiji in particular, he's faced a lot of top tiers. He had a run-in with Marco. He had a run-in with Jozu, a run-in with Whitebeard, of course a run-in with Akainu, a run-in with Doflamingo, and I don't think in any of these matchups, Aokiji got overwhelmed. He fought Akainu for 10 days, right? That's a long time. When he matched up with Whitebeard, first time Whitebeard uses Quake Punch, didn't really do much to Aokiji. They matched up again, he used Haki on Aokiji. He somehow evaded the Haki and he came back. He was about to attack Whitebeard because he was wide open. Jozu comes in and hits him. Jozu looks away for a second. Aokiji one-shots Jozu. So portrayal-wise for Aokiji, you could argue he could be higher because taking someone like Akainu to a high diff fight, extreme diff, and if anything is above that, he did that 10 days. And Akainu got fucked up a little bit as well. He lost a leg and he has a low gear devil fruit, so that compensates for it. It's not a huge loss, but he's had a tough road. He's faced a bunch of strong characters and he's come out pretty fine. So I'm okay with him here. He's not at his peak yet. And this is a low ball because we expect him to get even stronger. He has 2 of the strongest devil fruits. I expect his Haki to grow. So when we see Blackbeard again in combat, I expect it to be a lot greater than we've ever seen from him. But I think being a new Yonko, establishing territories, I don't think he's faced anyone of note ever since he defeated Marco at the Payback War. So I think once he defeats someone else, we presume it to be Shanks, then he moves up this list rapidly. 12, we have Kong. And Kong, people have him a lot higher. And for me, why I don't have Kong higher than this is solely because of in the past, in the history of One Piece, other characters have gotten shout outs. Kong has not been mentioned at all. We know about Kong is 1, he was a fleet admiral back then with Sengoku and Garp. And 2, he's a commander-in-chief now. Of course, he's very strong. Former fleet admiral, you get respect and you're on this list here. But I need a feat. I need something from Kong other than being the fleet admiral for me to have him higher. It's just a feel thing. Like Kong, you could place him anyway. He could be top 5, top 3. But there's nothing in the story that has mentioned Kong other than his position. Yes, he's a commander-in-chief now, but what does that really mean? We know what Big Mom can do. Like she's a monster in pretty much everything. An amazing devil fruit, her defense, her strength. She's really savage. That's kind of overlooked sometimes, but Big Mom is a savage. She is very quirky. And you know, the hunger pangs, that is a part of it. As many inconsequential L's that she takes, and I don't like using that, but the situations she gets put in, like losing her memories or going on a hunger pang rampage for 30 chapters, that's exaggerating, but Big Mom has been impressive. Number 10, we have Kaido, and Kaido's overall portrayal took a hit. Like I can't deny that. And it was basically because of Oden. But again, this is 20 years ago Kaido. I expect Kaido got stronger. We still have to take into consideration that Kaido was dubbed the world's strongest creature, and we're going to respect the world's strongest. So for me, Kaido slightly above Big Mom, slightly, but they're interchangeable as well. Onigashima is going to make or break Big Mom and Kaido's ranking. Big Mom has already done a lot in Whole Cake where I feel like she's somewhat solidified where she is, where I don't know if she can move up by doing anything. Kaido can move up, but he can also move down. So we'll see how that goes. And a lot of people feel like it's crazy to have Shanks over Kaido. I don't think so at all. Shanks has a mystique to him. I feel like he's one of Oda's favorite characters, how he's portrayed. Granted, the Sea King stuff, that's not an amazing thing in the beginning of the story, but we know why that happened. Being on par with Mihawk in the past, I think that's good for him and good for Mihawk as well, obviously. But that was before he was a Yonko. I think after he lost his arm, he had to compensate for it. People said, Oda said he didn't lose any power from losing his arm. Of course, Oda's not going to tell you how strong Shanks is, but I think after losing his arm, he compensated. And off of that, I think his Haki is among the best ever. And he grew to the point where he's now solidified as a Yonko of the One Piece world. Unfortunately, I think Shanks' one and only fight may be his final fight. But I think however Blackbeard wins, it probably will be in a slimy way. So Shanks' portrayal won't take a hit. But I think think Shanks is definitely top 10 all time. Number 8, we have Shiki. And Shiki, people were saying Shiki could be top 3, top 4. The reason why Shiki is this low for me is that, for the most part, Shiki hasn't really accomplished anything. He had a grand fleet, and he managed to somewhat corner the Pirate King. However, he took an L, and he ended up with a wheel in his head. And then after the fact, he went and he fought Garp and Sengoku by himself. He ultimately lost. Half of Marineford was destroyed, but you have to factor in his Devil Fruit power and what it does, how overwhelming that can be. Don't get me wrong, still very impressive, but I think either of them could have beaten Shiki 1v1, but it would be a lot more difficult of a fight. All of Marineford would probably be destroyed. And I remember also, he was asking Roger to team up. Roger said, no, get out of here. Then after he escaped Impel Down, he was asking Whitebeard to team up. Whitebeard said, no, get out of here. So I'm like, yeah, you're mentioned amongst these guys, but I think they have a slightly higher portrayal, where clearly Whitebeard could have been the Pirate King, but he didn't want it. Clearly Roger was the Pirate King. With Shiki, there's never a moment where you felt like Shiki could have been the Pirate King. Like, those two were clearly, I think, portrayed to be, while strength-wise, they're on the same level, I have them higher. Characters slot in between Whitebeard and Roger and Shiki for me. I think Sengoku, based on the Roger shout-out, that boosted him. That definitely moved him up the list, in which he shouted out Garp and Sengoku, saying that those guys are the ones that can actually compete with him. He's a fleet admiral, former admiral, a master strategist, definitely on par with Garp back then, a great Devil Fruit, and he seemed to be a level-headed person. I think he's slightly underrated because he's not as flashy as Garp is based on like portrayal in the story, but that Roger shout out, definitely top 10. Number 6, I have Akainu. People say, well, how can you have Akainu over Sengoku when you got the Roger shout out? Well, for me, I view Marineford a lot differently than a lot of people, and Akainu is the only character in real time that went up against another top tier and came out of it alive, or I guess symbolically, becoming the fleet admiral indicated he got stronger than he was at Marineford. And I think at Marineford, if it was just Whitebeard and Akainu, he's winning. At some point, we'll go through the fight and just go over things that happened that if it was different, it would definitely go in Akainu's favor, but that's a conversation for another day. Oda's rank of Akainu, his Devil Fruit, his will. The more we learn about Akainu, the more I think he's going to be nasty at the end of the series. Another feat, honestly, is Blackbeard and his entire crew running away from him. Again, fighting out Kiji, who is another top tier, and coming out the victor. People try to downplay it, saying he did something slimy. Bro, from what we know, he won. So personally, I think his Devil Fruit is better than Sengoku's. I think he probably has a more dominant will. He's relentless, and portrayal-wise, I think it's showing that Akainu is going to be the Marine, the one guy seemingly contending with the strong pirates of this era. We assume Luffy's going to surpass Roger, so who's going to be the Marine competing with what Luffy is after he surpasses Roger? I think Akainu is that guy. People say Kobe and Smoker, maybe, but Akainu is going to be right up there with them. Dragon is here because of lineage, portrayal, and overall expectations. The Revolutionaries as a whole has not looked wildly impressive, but I think Dragon is the one person holding them together. Again, lineage here, the son of Garp, father of Luffy. I expect Dragon to be a monster. People speculate Dragon could be an ancient weapon, or Dragon could have the Wind Devil Fruit. Both could be true, but I think the fact that Dragon is the most wanted man, where the Revolutionaries are now, Dragon definitely deserves credit. And you can scale him wherever you want to, honestly. People put him at 10. Some people don't even put him in the top 10. They said best right now, Dragon is 15, and this is just in the top 30 current. I'm giving him the credit off of lineage and overall portrayal in the series. I think Zabak was obviously very powerful, and when you get in the top 5, these guys could all lose to each other. He was the man back then, where Roger and Garp, they came together to defeat him and his crew. Whitebeard was under him, Big Mom Kaido, but we know back then they weren't as strong as they are now, or as they were in their primes, and I think Zabak was a force. But even though he had those strong individuals under him, I think more so his leadership is a reason why they followed him, but then you could argue his leadership is a reason why they crumbled as well. But there's also the other part of it, that they were all conquerors, we assume. So when you have too many conquerors under the same roof, the conflict is inevitable. We're missing context with the Garp, Zabak, Roger stuff, but for right now, I'm okay with Zabak at 4. Garp, we know, was competing with Roger, competing with Whitebeard, competing with Zabak, the strongest Marine ever, all the accolades you can garner. Everyone hypes up Garp. You really cannot deny Garp's strength. He was responsible for taking down Zabak. I guess he gets credit for taking down Roger. Whitebeard was with Zabak, so you give him credit for that as well. Granted, this was a younger Whitebeard. We don't expect this to be the Whitebeard in his prime. Again, context is missing, so we have to wait and see. But Garp is definitely top 3. I know a lot of people expect Roger to be 1, but I've remained consistent in my stance with Roger and Whitebeard. I think it could go either way, but based on the crews and how they were set up, I think Whitebeard had the inferior crew, but Whitebeard was standing toe-to-toe against Roger. I don't think based on portrayal of strength, one leans more than the other, so it's just based on how you feel about it. Granted, Roger was the greater pirate based on accomplishments, but I think mano a mano, if it came down to it, Whitebeard would come out on top, so obviously Whitebeard is number 1 for me. Whitebeard had the title of World's Strongest Man while Roger was alive. A lot of people use Roger's condition to downplay Whitebeard's strength, but if you go by episode 0, which we use for Shiki as well, it said that Roger's condition, or Roger's strength, was not affected by his health at the time. So Whitebeard being the world's strongest man, I have to respect it, and portrayal from what we've seen, no man gave an inch from the clash. And again, we only seen a clash, but it could go either way. I'm not mad if somebody put Roger at 1. I'm okay with Whitebeard at 1. Whitebeard could be 2, but I don't think anyone else is stronger than Whitebeard. Once we get the context with Zebek and everything that went down there, that would make it a lot clearer. But for right now, 1 is Whitebeard and number 2 is Roger. But guys, this is my list. You guys should drop your list below. Give me your top 30 all time. I know people are going to go crazy in the comment section. I'm sorry, guys. This was a very difficult ranking list. I ask you guys always to be respectful, and people still go crazy in the comments, and it's like, how you act, I act accordingly. So I ask you guys, even if you disagree, list your reason for disagreeing and give me your list. I absolutely always appreciate the comments, but I know how power scaling can go. People look at things completely differently, and this is just my perspective, my vantage point. Just give me yours. So again, like the video if you did. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce for updates, etc. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.ace. And yeah, thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.